Good evening and welcome to the Ferguson City Council meeting. The meeting is now called to order. Let us stand for a moment of silent prayer. The pledge allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. You may be seated. Chris Crable, could you please call the roll?
Councilwoman Noah?
Here.
Councilman Griffin?
Here.
Councilwoman Burrow? Councilman Robinette?
Here.
Mayor Jones?
Here.
Councilman Lipka?
Here.
Councilman Nelson?
Here.
A quorum is present. We'll open up with, Chris, do you have something to share?
Yes, sorry. I would like to just make note to the agenda. We did have minutes for the council meeting May 25th, 2021 to be approved. Those minutes didn't get completed and they weren't attached to the agenda. So when you are approving the minutes, I would ask for you not to approve those minutes and they'll get attached to a later agenda.
Okay, we should put a motion on the floor about those agendas, about the minutes that were not able to be placed in agenda and they're not on the website.
So moved, Mayor.
Okay, is there a second?
Frank Griffin, second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. So the council meeting minutes from March 25th will not be read. At this time, we have our public comments. Any citizen that would like to speak was asked to send your comment in via email on June the 7th by 5:30 p.m. So at this time, Chris, do we have any public comments?
We do. We have 4 that made it in before the deadline, and we have 1 that came in afterwards. It won't be read tonight, but it will be placed in the official minutes when they're put out. The first person tonight that submitted would be Deborah Moore.
Is Ms. Moore on the line?
I'm not
I
seeing.
don't think she's here.
I'm not seeing her name. No.
Okay, would you read her comment, please?
Sure. The topic is for Ferguson Public Works Department. Community pride, city pride begins with residents with assistance from our Public Works Department. Currently, there appears to be no assistance from Public Works. For 2 years, the same request has gone unanswered. What does it take to get the assistance? Please do not blame COVID-19. The blame is solely on Ferguson Public Works. Explain to residents in North Hills and Forestwood why the issue have not been rectified. 2.5 years of large tree branches from 2019, heavy rain and high winds day. More this day falling branches issues weeds that have turned into trees, weeds and grass, almost covering the house's windows and front door. Upkept property for rent, collectors of vacant homes. There's no way any human driving normal speed. There's no way any human driving on normal speed on Forestwood or Highmont Royce Kirk cannot see above situations with eyes closed. Public Works remain a key component of our city communities, but we need someone to delve into why the department is not functioning for all communities. I don't expect an answer, but I will continue to address this with council until my neighbors and myself feel we are being heard. Results. Now is the time. That's the end of the first comment.
Okay.
Okay, and the second one we have is from Becky Miller.
Good evening, City Council members. I'm Becky Miller, a member of the Executive Board of PROUD, People Reaching Out for Unity and Diversity. Although PROUD was created as an official commission of the City of Ferguson when it was formed in 1995, that is no longer our status. When PROUD was resurrected in 2017, we chose to become an independent organization. Our purpose became sponsoring opportunities that encourage Ferguson residents to work together to build a community of harmony and equality within a diverse group of people. Our independent status gave us the freedom to be truly nonpartisan and to work for the good of the whole community. Individually, our members may express strong opinions. As an organization, however, PROUD has been and will remain independent and unbiased, so that we can act as a bridge between perceived boundaries and increase unity. As I stated in my letter at last month's council meeting, we are grateful for how much members of City Council have worked with us. Current and former City Council members have been integral to PROUD's success since our earliest reorganization meetings. This includes former council member Dwayne James, who was instrumental in helping establish our goals and structure. Former council members Tim Larson, Laverne Mitchum, and Keith Kallstrom, who've all served on our executive board. Council member Heather Robinette, who was instrumental in helping establish our organization, as well as arranging significant financial support. Council member Naquita Noah, who served on our outreach committee. Council member Phaedra Nelson, who was a presenter at our January Coping with COVID event. Mayor Ella Jones and Council member Tony Burrow, who helped plan recent events, and Council members Linda Lipka and Fran Griffin, who helped PROUD with events in previous years. We appreciate the participation and support we have received from each of you. We look forward to continuing our relationship with all of you in the future. We again invite you to our June 26th meeting, where we will be setting our priorities and planning events for the coming fiscal year. We welcome participation of anyone who supports our mission. Currently, we are planning an in-person event at the community center at 2 p.m. Please visit our website, www.proud-ferguson.org, for updates. And again, thank you for your support.
Thank you, Becky Mueller.
The next person we have tonight will be Alan Mueller.
Good evening, council members. I've spoken often on the need for us to hear one another so we can try to build trust and healing in our community. That need is as strong now as ever. Tonight, I would like to provide an example of how we can change our dialogue from one of conflict to one of mutual appreciation. At the last council meeting, Nick Kassoff and I each provided comments about the resolution to rewrite our zoning ordinance. If you take our comments separately, our recommendations seemed in conflict with each other. But if you listen carefully and compared our comments, you realize that together, Mr. Kassoff and I provided you with important information needed for a proper informed cost-benefit analysis. In support of the resolution, my comments, coupled with Mr. Carey's warnings about potential lawsuits, made a really strong case for updating our city's zoning laws. Mr. Kassoff countered that the resolution cost too much money. As strong as my case was, I believe the council made the right choice by heeding Mr. Kassoff's concerns and tabling the resolution. Because the consultant selection process was done in relative secrecy, I had no way to know that the city had received two lower, more cost-effective bids. The moment I heard that the city had received competitive bids that cost less, I knew that Nick was right. When I heard that the council hadn't been involved in the selection process, I knew Nick was right. The Board of Adjustment, the Architectural Review Board, FNIP, the Parks Commission, and other boards all rely heavily on the zoning ordinance to do their work. When I heard none of them had been consulted during this process, I knew that Nick was right. To make sure I'm being clear, this is not about winning or losing, not about being on one side or another. This is about joining together to provide our best professional knowledge and information in support of our city. This is about the city being transparent about what is going on so we can give you our best opinions. At the last meeting, my recommendations were good, but after receiving the information that had not been made available previously, it became immediately apparent that the cost side of the equation outweighed the benefits side. Secrecy and blind partisanship are destructive to the welfare of our city. When we have the opportunity to hear, ponder, and follow the best information available, even though we may initially disagree, as a community, we all win. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mueller.
And next we have Erica Brooks.
Good evening. I was following up on a comment that I made last summer on September 27, 2020, when I was assaulted by a guy who came out of a derelict house. And when I made the actual report and everything else, some of the things in the report was not correct to the point where it favored the witness and also the suspect that assaulted me. And I just got a copy of the actual report Friday, thinking that everything was okay, but I am following up because the witness who didn't want it to be public that that suspect knew her, she decided that she wanted to get a lawyer to send me a letter about not mentioning that she was present as a witness when the guy assaulted me. And I wanted it to be known public that I did make a video on Facebook, which just truly gave facts about her being a witness and not telling the police who the guy was. And then the police at the scene, when they did come, told me that they had been informed by other police that that she wasn't going to say anything if they had gone to her house. They were persistent on not going until some citizens had called Police Chief McCall and also Police Chief Armstrong. And that's when they decided to go, and she still haven't told who the guy was, because when the guy flagged her down when he was assaulting me, he said they greeted each other as auntie and nephew. And so she was aware of who the guy was and didn't give detailed information. So at this point, I don't have the suspect in custody for assaulting me. And also, when it comes to this police report, I would like for it to be revised, because a lot of things were twisted in here to where it didn't fully give my side and justify that the guy was assaulting me, because what they said is that I was videotaping him against his will, when really I was the team leader for Ferguson City Cleanup in 2020. And so I was just reviewing the neighborhood, and I had a digital recorder as well as my phone taking pictures to know where we needed volunteers at. I was not trying to videotape him. He walked up on me as I was trying to survey the ward for cleanup. And so I wanted that to be known publicly, that when she sent this letter to my house from a lawyer to try to gag me, I want the public to understand that I did not threaten her, which she said I did in this letter from this lawyer, as well as harass her. It's just the fact that I mentioned publicly that she was a witness that didn't speak up to tell who the suspect was. And I wanted to let you all know, because I'm going to follow up in some other situations, because I don't feel it's fair that the police department did not properly go to her house to ask her without being coerced to go, and make sure that, being that I was assaulted, that we try to find this suspect. So like I said, I would really appreciate if the city would ask the police department to be more diligent about looking out for their citizens, and not just looking out for people that are well-known citizens in this neighborhood. That's the reason why we have so much violence right now, because people know certain people, and they don't follow up to make sure that everybody is taking consequences for their actions. That's all I
Thank
have.
you. Thank you, Mrs. Brooks.
And that was the last one that was submitted on time. Like I said, there will be one additional one put in the minutes for the next meeting.
Okay, thus in the public comments, we ask that the public comments be turned over to the staff so the staff can do their findings. The next item on the agenda is the manager's report. Acting interim city manager, John Hampton, you have the floor.
Mayor and Council, once again, I'm blessed to be here tonight with you all. And thank you for giving me this time. I first want to congratulate Chris. He is now Ferguson Deputy Clerk. Congratulations, Chris Crable. I know you'll do a great job. Tonight, I want to talk about two things. One will be our streets, and I will introduce Don Boyce here in a second. The other one will be Dave, and Dave will give us an update on the pool and also some city events. If Don Boyce is on, I'd turn it over to Don Boyce, please.
Thank you, John. I am on. Good evening, Mayor and Council. Just giving a brief update. We have started repairing more sinkholes in the streets last week. Cunningham, Castro, Dupree, Atmore, Ashford. There were several streets that were very dangerous and very hazardous as far as like the size of the sinkholes. And in doing so, I was out with the construction company that was doing the work. And I've been to several homes in our neighborhood, and I've noticed that I'm going to start an investigation with MSD, because I do believe that we have a stormwater sewer issue in our community that could possibly be causing damage to our streets. Now, I don't know how far I'll get with that, but it's something to look into because I'm noticing a pattern. We will continue to do whatever we can to repair any potholes, sinkholes with the resources that we have. We do plan on fixing more streets at the beginning of July.
Mr. Boyce,
Yes.
do you mind repeating the streets that you've done so far? You said Cunningham, Castro, Dupree, and what else?
Atmore, Castro. Give me 1 second. These are the ones from last week. Millshire.
Good.
And Ellsford.
Ellsberg.
Ford.
Yes.
Okay. Did you have any, is Woodwind on the list at all?
Woodwind is actually one of the streets that we are going after with the CDBG fund if we are granted that fund. Yes, ma'am.
And then is Chateau Woods on the list at all?
It can be added to the list.
Okay.
Yes,
For
ma'am.
sure.
I would prefer before I add it is to show it to you, because you've seen other streets that are on the list as well. So
Yes.
I know from the perspective of my community, they feel it's very bad. And I do think we're getting down to the barbed wire or the steel, you know, what are those things called? The rebarb?
The rebar.
Yeah. So I think we're getting down to the rebarb on some of it, but I also know that there's other, we have to prioritize. So I just want to make you aware of it.
Yes, ma'am. We can, Linda, we can get together later this week or next week. And it could definitely be added to the list that I'm starting to compile for July.
Okay. And then one other question, and I know I bring this up, I brought it up many times when Matt was in the office, and I've talked to you a little bit about it, but have you had any opportunity to look into the recycled tire fill product? Do you know what I mean?
I have not had a chance to look into it.
Because I had some articles from the past. I have not I want to get some newer ones. I'm sure there's more information out there because it's just always more every year that goes by. So I want to get that information over to you. I do think that that is a very strong product that we might be able to get more cost effectively now than we could have 4 years ago.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Don, I'm sorry, this is Naquita. Did you say Ellsworth or Ellsford?
Ford.
Ford, okay, thanks.
Yes, ma'am.
And Don, did a residents from Linda's subdivision, did they turn in a list of names to you today? Petition, Mr.
Mayor, I think we're still working on that.
Okay, okay.
And Don, this is Councilwoman Nelson. I know you said you're putting together a list for July. I also have a list of streets for you as well that I can send as well.
Okay, just email them, please, ma'am.
I will. Thank you.
No problem.
I'm going to make a suggestion to the city manager, hopefully, and to Don. Is there any reason why we cannot get together and do a work session? Because there's so many asks about repairing the streets, and we don't want to have stuff trickling in, and some people may be get a little upset if their street is not mentioned. So is there any reason why the city manager and the director of Public Works can get together and come up with a work session and bring this all to us at one time?
Yes, ma'am, Mayor. That was one of my last things on my city manager report, is that we would like to have a work session on streets with the city council. As we all know, we are limited in resources, so we are going to have to really look at the streets and see what we can do. So it is important that each council person has their street that they want done in their wards, and then we can go and assess them. Like Don was saying earlier, we have a big issue with undermining of some of our streets, and we believe this could be a potential problem with MSD. So this is also where we need to look at some of those streets and see what we can do potentially with MSD as well. So thank you, Mayor. For that. Yes. Don, did we have anything else on potentially the street counters?
So the street counters that were placed out, we did send out the results to the council and the department heads. We are presenting those streets to see if we can qualify those streets for any STP or CDBG, any government funding.
Yes, Mayor and Council, we were very surprised at how many cars were actually driven on those streets at the time of the street counter. It was kind of eye-opening, and so I feel confident that we can potentially get this on this, but that will be also talked about in the work session if possible.
Yep.
Good. Thank you, Don. Anybody else have any questions for Don Boyce? Okay, thank you. Our next person is going to be Dave Musgrave. He is our Parks Director. Dave.
Thank you, Chief Hampton. Good evening, Mayor. Good evening, Council. I wanted to speak for a minute during the City Manager's presentation about our pool. I sent everybody an update earlier this evening, but just kind of wanted to update you guys. We do have the leisure pool as well as the splash pad currently open. Unfortunately, we've run into some problems with our competition pool. We actually have a leak that we're looking into in our return line. There's a 6-inch PVC line that takes the water back from the filtration system into the pool. When we started the filtration system the other day, we noticed that we dropped about 4 inches of water. So there is a leak somewhere under the deck, and we're in the process of looking into it. I'm actually going to be meeting the company back out there tomorrow to kind of analyze and get a timeline, as well as hopefully a cost estimate of our next steps that I went into detail in my email about. So if you have more questions, more than happy to answer those, but at least wanted to give everybody an update. We're working as quickly as we can on the project. We do want to make sure it's done correctly so we don't have more problems down the road. The good news is the pool itself is not leaking. It's actually the return line. So the structure of the pool is still intact and still integrally sound. The other thing I wanted to talk about, there's been several discussions about our special event process, parade process, block party process, those things, city event, city sponsored. I'm about 99% done with that form and draft form. So I was wondering about possibly having a work session with City Council sometime in the near future as time allows. That way we can kind of sit down face to face and discuss the process and make sure that everybody thinks it's a good process and that everybody's on board with how we're going to move forward with it. So we kind of can label these things and make sure we know what we're doing with our special events and parades and everything else that citizens ask us to do and we have requests for on the regular. So that was the two things I wanted to talk about this evening. If there's any questions, I'm more than happy to answer those.
Now, I would just say I thank you for the work you're doing on the pool. I mean, and I would like to just kind of remind our citizens that, you know, our pool is not a youngster. It's an older pool. It's been there for quite a while. We have been very lucky to maintain the facility as long as we have. And then, but we also knew that not being used last year because of COVID was going to cause some issues. And so, you know, non-use can be just as detrimental as overuse. And that's what we're experiencing now. So I appreciate the repair work that you're doing, the urgency you're putting into it. And I would just ask our citizens to bear with you and know that you're working hard for them.
Thank you, Councilwoman Lipka.
Okay, Mayor and Council. The only other thing I do have, thank you, Dave. If no one else has any questions for Dave. Dave, thanks.
Oh, Dave, one thing, you need to plug applications for the parade, 4th of July right now, and you need to plug applications for part-time employees right now.
Truthfully, we're sitting pretty good. My desperate plea on Facebook, I think, did some pulling at heartstrings, and we've gotten quite a few over the past 5-6 days. So I'm pleased with that. But we definitely do need applications for the 4th of July parade, 100%. So if you have an organization or a group that's interested in that, please get those in early so we can get it planned and get it ready to go. We were late to the game, but the more the merrier. So please get those in as soon as you can. And they are available online, Ferguson4thofjuly.com.
Hey, Dave, this is Tony Burrow. I left a message for you last week, and I want to let you know that Chris was able to help us out. It's about the SOPs, and the sooner that we can get together with that working session to get standard operating procedures in place, the better. As a matter of fact, I was thinking about seeing if Chief Hampton can be in one work session then, because we're going to need several of us doing work sessions. We should just take off a day and say one after the other rather than work sessions separately. So if you give me a call back on that call I left you last Friday, I appreciate it.
Will do.
Thanks.
Okay. Councilwoman Burrows, as soon as I saw an email go out, I definitely got with Dave, and that's why Dave has been working on the event flyer and the special event thing, because we do need to fix this. We do need to make sure that everybody knows where we stand on all of our events that are happening in the city. And then again, we are limited on resources as to what we can do as well. And so, you know, that is another means for us to know what kind of resources are needed.
Thank you.
We do have a couple work sessions that we'd like to potentially bring up. Obviously, we are almost very closely done with the housing program. And right now, I know we worked with Councilwoman Griffin and Lipka to help finish that process. And we would like to bring that to council soon, but we'd like to have a work session just to go over first. We'd also do the city events and in the streets. And also while we're in the streets, I'm gonna have the police chief there. And we're going to sit down and talk about some speed remediation. I know we get constant reminders through email, through phone calls, through everything that we have speeders. Right now, everybody does. I understand there's a problem. Me and the mayor and Jason were together. We're looking at, and I also with Don Boyce, we're looking at what we can do with some speed tables at this time, seeing the portable speed tables and see if we can put them in different streets and then try to get some of those artery streets taken care of. But that would be brought up at our next work session as well. Don is getting a price on those right now. And once we get that price, I'll make sure the council knows how much that is. So
thank you. And Chief, what I'd like to say is that if we could figure out, Mayor, what all these work sessions are, and have us a one-dayer instead of one after the other. I think we could really get a lot done.
Well, we
If we could put
currently
together.
we currently have 4 topics just from starting what we've talked about tonight. So, I mean, we may even want to do it like a rotating conference, you know, like you go from one room, one group goes into this room, talks to the one group. I don't know. I'm just saying we've got 4 topics. That could be a full day right there.
I think with what we've been talking about, and even I had a conversation with Chief Armstrong today. I think there's more than 4 topics. I think it's going to be a day run. And when we talk about work sessions, and we can do this later because this is not a conversation for right now, but basically making it a round robin is not what we need to have, because we need everybody on board, on deck when we do these. So a round robin would not work sufficiently. So I think it's a case of, if we really sit down and look at it, it looks more like 8 topics versus 4, but I don't think this is the audience or the forum for it right now. So if we can get together and just maybe do some emailing to see what we have in stock, Mayor and Chief Hampton, I think that would be more beneficial.
All right, thank you, Ms. Councilwoman Burrows. What I'll do is I'll kind of like put maybe a potential timeline on some of them. And then I'll try to organize maybe 2 into 1, or see what we can come up with and send out a schedule and see what council can make. And we'll see what we can do and come up with that to appease everybody and make sure everybody has a voice.
Thank you.
Right, thank you, Chief. And I would also just like to add right quick, this is Naquita Noah. Let's be mindful of the people who work during the day, and so the weekends work okay too sometimes. Thank you.
Let's also remember some of us work on the weekends.
Right. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. Mayor, at this time, we are done with this city manager's report.
Okay, thank you, acting interim city manager.
Chief Hampton.
Yeah. It's a long one.
Hampton. The next item is special presentation. We don't have any. The next item is public hearing. Back to you, Chief Hampton.
Thank you, Mayor, once again, and council. Tonight, I'm going to bring Elliot Leapson on. He's going to talk about the special use permit at this time. Elliot.
Thank you, Chief. Mayor, members of council, subsequent to putting this on the agenda, some information came up that we feel that the Planning Commission still needs to review. So we don't feel this is ready yet, and would ask that it be tabled until the Planning Commission has had a chance to review the new information and prepare it adequately for you.
Thank you, Elliot. Council, at this time, we'd like to bring this back to you, potentially at a later date. Not next council meeting, maybe next council meeting, Elliot?
Possibly. It depends. Yeah.
Okay. We should have everything hopefully worked out by then.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you. And thank you, Elliot. Mayor, on the second one, it's the, unless anybody else has any questions or anything on the first one. I'm sorry, I jumped the gun there. If no questions, I'll move on. The second item we have up for public hearing is fiscal year 2021-2022 budget and the proposed 5-year capital improvement program from fiscal years 2022 to 2026. At this time, I would like to introduce our finance director, Alexis Miller. You're still muted, Alexis.
Sorry. Good evening, Council, Mayor. Thank you, Chief Hampton. If I may, I want to share my screen so I can bring up this presentation real quick. Give me just one moment. Okay. Can you all see the presentation?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, great. Thank you. As you all know, we are having tonight our public hearing for the annual operating budget for the fiscal year 2021-2022, as well as we are presenting the capital improvement program 5-year fiscal plan that we worked on last October. So just as I know that Councilwoman Noah and Councilwoman Nelson were not on the council at that time, but we have, our charter requires that we do a 5-year capital improvement program. We're required to meet in October for that, and it needs to be completed before November. We did that last year, but for some reason our charter says that we don't do that hearing or the resolution on it until June with the budget. So I don't know why. We did all this work back in October, but this is the way our charter reads, so it's included here for tonight. So let's see. Okay, so if I may, basically the city has several different funds. We have just our general operating budget, our general operating fund. We have 5 special revenue funds, which are the Parks Fund, the Economic Development Sales Tax Fund, the Special Business District, the Sewer Lateral Fund, and the Farmers Market. We actually currently only have 2 debt service funds. I included in the Halls Ferry TIF, so you can see that that is completely zeroed out. That one was closed out this past year. So after this year, it will not be on there anymore. I just wanted to make sure that everybody was aware it's been closed. We have the 2 debt service funds we do still have are the COPS, or Certificate of Participation Debt Service, as well as our General Obligation Bond Debt Service. And then finally, we have 2 capital project funds. One would be the Capital Improvement Sales Tax Fund, and the other is the Downtown TIF Fund. This report basically shows total revenues. So total revenues for the city for 2021-2022 are projected to be about $22,227,000 across all funds. Total personnel costs across all funds are projected to be about $11,910,000. Total supplies and services are projected at $5,114,000, and total capital items, including debt service, are forecasted to be about $5,059,000. Overall, we zero out on our transfers. It'll bring the 1 here because of rounding. So we are anticipating in total putting in about $143,000 into our fund balance. Our total fund balance with all funds are, we are anticipating being at $13,232,000 at the end of June 2022. So I want to jump into some of our main funds, or our main operating funds that we use. So the first one I want to go over is the Parks Fund, which I have highlighted here in yellow. The Parks Fund has its own dedicated tax revenue source, as well as it has other reimbursable programs that help to make up its revenues. Total revenue projected for budgeted for 2022 is $2,671,000. There's budgeted $752,000 in personnel costs, $527,000 in, hold on, sorry. Well, okay. I'm sorry. All right, it skipped ahead. Sorry about that. We have $527,000 in supplies and services, and about $1,023,000 budgeted in capital expenditures in the Parks Fund. A lot of that will be our parks programs, and we get parks grants for those. We have about $926,000 from the Parks Fund that are transferred to other funds, including the general fund. So we are anticipating dipping into reserves for the Parks Fund about $557,000 for this fiscal year, which means that our beginning balance of fund balance of $989,000, we expected June 30th, 2022 to be about $432,000. We did anticipate that this would happen. Part of this is because we did not have a lot of revenue and have not had any revenue because of COVID. So we did kind of anticipate that we would have a dip in revenue and not have anything going back into fund balance. So that was kind of anticipated for this year. The second major fund that we were going to discuss tonight is the capital project, our Capital Improvement Sales Tax Fund, which is currently the one that's highlighted in yellow. For that, we have projected revenues of $2,634,000. We have capital expenditures, including debt service, of about $2,623,000. We have transfers to and from other funds that balance out to about $12,000 going out of the Capital Improvement Sales Tax Fund. So our beginning balance of $708,000 has the same ending balance of $708,000. And that was because we took any money that we were planning on putting into fund balance for the year and we put that towards street repairs for fiscal year 2022 at the last budget work session, if you were on for that. Okay, finally, the most important or the biggest operating budget that we have is our general fund, and that's where most of our operations come out of. We do a lot of transfers to and from this fund in order to, because most of the bills are paid out of this fund. So we're anticipating revenues of $14,269,000. And just so that everyone is aware, we did have a last minute update to this. So these numbers are a little bit off, if I may. The personnel cost should actually be $11,165,000 for the general fund. And that was, and then we have, and that was due to that, then we have supplies and services of about $3,849,000, which makes the total expenditures from the general fund about $15,014,000. So I apologize that these numbers aren't updated, but it was a last minute change that we needed to have included in the budget numbers. So we still have about $890,000 that will be transferred into the general fund from other funds. And again, that's because most of the bills are paid out of this fund, so other funds pay us back. And which leaves us putting in about $145,000 into reserves at the end of June 2022. So we're anticipating the fund balance being about $7,153,000 on July 1st, 2021. And we anticipate at the end of year, June 30th, 2022, about 7 million, hold on. I updated it on a different page, I apologize. About $7,297,622. So it will go up a little bit, not quite as much as what is showing here. So since the general fund is where most of our expenditures come from, I wanted to go into those numbers a little bit deeper. So for total revenues for fiscal year 2020, we had actual revenues of $12,001,463. We are forecasting our total revenues for 2021 as $15,239,200. And then for 2022, $14,268,500. And the reason for these big differences between 2020, 2021, and 2022 during COVID is the stimulus funds. We have in 2021, we're receiving $3,348,000 in stimulus funds. In 2022, we will receive another $1,890,000 in stimulus funds. So that's why those numbers have gone up, and it's those stimulus funds. So for revenues, and you can see that here, as you can see, there's an increase in property taxes year over year, which is pretty, which is our pretty standard increase. We have intergovernmental receipts, and those went down a little bit for fiscal year 2021. We have them back above 2022 for above 2020 for fiscal year 22, but it's not the increase that you would have expected because of COVID. Licenses and permits were increased in 2021, and that was because we moved the business license due date back to 2021 from 2020. So that is why that is down. Utility gross receipts had a little dip this year, but we expect it to rebound in 2022. Sales tax, we like everyone, we had a hit in our sales tax revenue for our fiscal year 2021, not nearly as severe as what we had anticipated, but we did have that hit. We are anticipating that those numbers are going to continue to be strong and bounce back in 2022. Our inspection fees, like everyone else, went down a little bit in 21, expected to be up again in 2022. Fees, service charges, assessments, those actually did go up slightly in 2021, and they're expected to go up more in 2022. Not a whole lot, but I guess it's about $47,000 is what we're expecting it to go up. So that's a significant number. Fines and public safety, That took a serious dip in 2021. We have not had in-person court due to COVID. And we don't think we will have in-person court until sometime this summer. We are waiting on St. Louis County to get to their level of clearance with COVID in order to be able to start having in-person court. And once the presiding judge determines that we're able to, then we would. So we are anticipating having in-person court, which means more people would show up. And we're anticipating that starting this year. So we are increasing revenues slightly, but by about a little over, but just about $50,000, but not like anywhere where it was in 2022. And then finally, the big jump, of course, is in other income. The $3,744,300 in other income is the stimulus money, and then the $2,227,600 is stimulus money as well. For total expenditures, since we've changed some of our numbers, this number for 2022, that number should go from $15,007,400 to $15,014,300. And so those are our total expenditures for the year. As you can see, they've gone up pretty significantly from our 2021 forecast to our 2022 budget. And the next slide should help to explain that a little bit. So this is the total personnel by department. As you can see, every department had a budget in 2021, and the forecast is significantly higher for every department for 2021. And the reason why is the budget was budgeted with the 10% furlough for all employees. That's how we did our budget. When we received the first set of stimulus money, we were able to roll back that furlough as well as do the annual increase for staff. So that is why those numbers are so much higher up than what they would have been. So that's what those increases are for forecast. And then for budget, obviously the numbers are increasing with a revenue increase for fiscal year 2022 as well. I do want to note the personnel costs for Division 10 is being changed from $128,000 to $134,900, which makes total personnel costs $11,164,900. And so that's the only change on this slide. But so there is a significant jump here, and that is truly due to not budgeting that increase for fiscal year 2021. The other issue that we have at play, and you may have noticed, there's a significant increase in the police department. Part of that is this is their third year of their collective bargaining agreement, which has the final steps for their compression fix. So, or compaction, I think is what they call it. So a lot of the positions are compacted. And so this is the final step. Several people will move up to where they should be due to compaction. We couldn't do it all at 1 year. It would have really hurt the city. So we did it in 3 years. This is the final year. So that's why there's that big jump there. The other item is that there were some additional positions that were included in this budget for fiscal year 2022. So those were those big jumps on that on salaries. When we go to supplies and services, you will see that we budgeted $3,661,300 for supplies and services. We're forecasting only spending $3,628,500. So we were able to do more with less for this fiscal year. We are budgeting $3,849,400 for fiscal year 2022. There were some items that we had eliminated from our 2021 budget that we really needed and we had to put back in 2022. And that's why there are those jumps in fiscal year 2022. But overall, it's not a really significant increase. And if you look at what our 2020 actual of $4,358,592 compared to our 2022 budget, we have scaled back significantly, and every department is running on as lean as possible because the city does have financial issues, and we want to make sure that we keep the city viable and vibrant going forward. So every department has really tried to do as much as they can with as little as possible. Finally, we have what we call our change in fund balance. As you can see in fiscal year 2020, due to COVID, we took a $782,477 hit to our fund balance. And that we knew was going to happen because when we had the shutdown, we knew that we weren't going to be getting really any more revenues in. As you can see, we're having a positive change of $2,872,600. Darn it, I don't know how to go back. I know how to go back, sorry. There we go. We have $2,872,600 going into fund balance for fiscal year 2021. Again, that is because we did receive that big chunk of both the CARES stimulus money as well as the American Recovery Plan, ARPA, American Recovery Plan money. And so that's what's making that big jump to our fund balance for fiscal year 2021. Fiscal year 2022, this number of $151,400 actually changes to $144,500, which means that the total into our fund balance is $7,200,000, or total into fund balance is $144,500. So the ending fund balance would be $7,297,622 is what our projected fund balance ending is for general fund. Just so council is aware, I have received some more guidance regarding the American Recovery Plan funds and the calculator and the calculations that are calculator that's going to be used to base loss of revenue and how that's calculated for using those funds to make up loss of revenue. So I am working on that right now, and hopefully I'll be able to have those numbers to you all soon once we get everything gone through and actually have some firm numbers for you all. So I'm working on that at the moment. And then finally, as I mentioned before, this is the capital improvement program. It's a 5-year capital plan. So we had discussions. We had forecasted our revenues and we had forecasted expenditures as to what we thought we would need to do when we need to do it for the next 5 years. Obviously, that's always subject to change. It depends on what we have. I mean, priorities change. We have, things that break and, can't wait one more year, or things that really could actually wait one more year and can be a second priority as opposed to a first priority. So as I said, this was all projected both for capital improvement as well as for the Parks Fund. And we are looking at, we will again have the same meeting again in October, where we will project revenues and project expenses for the next 5 years to try to have a better plan as to how the city is going to continue to move forward. So are there any questions?
Does the council have any questions for the finance director?
I do.
Yes, ma'am.
Lexi, on the last page, the capital improvements program 5-year.
Yes.
Please help me understand where the ending of the TIF fund is showing up there. Is that where the transfer out COPs? Do you understand what I'm asking? I want to make sure.
When we don't have the money for the downtown, from the downtown TIF, yes.
Right, because right now we're using that money to make the payments on our fire department, correct?
Yes.
And our community center?
Yes. Transfer in, transfer out, debt service. Transfer in parks, transfer in. Yes, it's in the transfer out cops. Sorry, I just wanted to make sure that I had that correct. It is in the transfer out cops. So you
Okay.
can see where it ends, and in 2023 is where it ends.
Okay, so do we have a plan on how we're going to make those payments after that?
Well, as you can see, our plan currently is we're going to do less in capital improvements. And
okay.
I mean, that's the only option we have, is that we have to use that money. I mean, we can use capital improvement. We can use capital improvement money. We were using downtown TIF because we could. When we don't have those funds, we're going to have to dip in to our capital improvement, money to use for the capital improvement. So that's the only option we have right now. And so that will limit what we can do on streets, on any other capital improvements citywide.
Got it. All right. Thanks.
This is Tony Burrow.
Yes, ma'am.
Is that not the same information that you gave us in October? Did you lay us out a plan back then of how this would be decreased? So if we go back to October, the answer to that question is in that October, because I remember we went from from October for the next 5 years, actually, if my memory serves me correctly, how we were going to be steadily decreasing.
Yes.
And I think we even put a date to it when we will be totally out of funds. I don't have my records in front of me right now, but Linda, I got that. If you want me to send it to you, I'll send it over because I took notes on it that day.
Okay.
Okay, I'll get it over to you.
Any other questions?
Just thank you, Lexi, for walking us through this. I appreciate it.
No problem. Okay, just so that you all are aware, there will be a resolution at the next council meeting in June, at the second council meeting in June, to approve both the budget as well as the capital improvement program, 5-year capital improvement program, even though we approved it back in October.
Thank you.
Thank you.
At this time, Deputy Clerk Crable, do you have anyone who submitted comments for the hearing?
I did not receive any comments via email. And I haven't seen anybody raise their hand or put anything in the chat box yet.
So no one has raised their hand to speak?
No.
Okay, at this time, the public hearing is closed. We move to the consent agenda for City Council meeting minutes. The special council meeting minutes for May 24, 2021, and special council meeting minutes for June the 2nd. Are there any corrections? If none, I request a motion and a second to approve the minutes.
Tony Burrows, so moved.
Second, Naquita Noah.
Any questions? Are you ready to vote? All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? The ayes have it. The minutes are approved. We don't have anything for boards and commission that will be done according to the last meeting in June. No appointments.
Ma'am, Mayor,
Yes.
I have been in conversation with Mr. Crable, but I do have, I will have a paperwork in front of me. I don't know, Chris, were you able to find it at all today?
No, I did send you that email back. I was not able to find anything, and I did request to see if you could have him forward that information in.
Okay, so we did have an application for FSBD from Mr. Chabot, Rob Chabot, to be put on the board. So once I have that again, he's been on the board before. He went off the board for a while. Now he is eligible to go back on the board. I also am aware that Robin Shively is interested in going back on the board. And this is a council vote, Mayor. So I want to get that paperwork turned in, but it's something that I want to put before everyone because I will be bringing this up for a vote to get them appointed to the board because we need the quorum to start moving forward with the FSBD work.
We will do all reappointments and new appointments at the next council meeting.
Okay.
Okay.
So, Mayor, so on the ones that's what I thought you said in the beginning, that we're gonna do that on the second week, because I have some more in it. Do we want to mention tonight that we have 2 vacancies in CRB? So those that are wanting to get on that board, they will know about it now.
Okay, that'll be fine.
Okay, as of Friday, I think we have another one, and they are both at large. And also, I have a couple of folks. I thought we'd give Chris a few meetings to figure it out. We not just as a courtesy, Mayor, because we have some folks ready to already have some applications in. So as I was talking to Chris this week, he's getting familiar with that process. So we'll have some available as well next week. So
Okay.
okay.
So please get everything, every person, every application, all the information to Chris. So when we go over for reappointments and new appointments, we'll have it accurate for the next meeting.
Great, that's what we've been doing. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Deputy Clerk Crable, we have requests for annual liquor license renewal. Would you please share?
So before Octavia left, she had completed this one liquor license renewal, and she said it was for full approval, and there would be no contingencies or anything. It's just approved for full approval. Let me try to see here. Where is it? Sorry, I'm looking for the application. I don't have it right here in front of me. I'm sorry.
Take your time.
Let me see if I can pull it up really quick. Let's go. Almost there.
Chris, did you need the name on this?
Yeah,
I believe it was Holly Lou. Am I correct?
Yes.
Yes. I'm sorry, I don't have my paperwork right in front of me here. I don't know where it went. Yeah, so for the Hollywood, I know there was no contingencies and everything was completed before Octavia left, and it was just for full approval.
Okay, thank you. Is there a motion and a second to approve the liquor license for Holly Lou?
Tony Burrow, so moved.
Heather Robinette, second.
Are there any questions? If not, are you ready to vote? All in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. Holly Lou has their liquor license. At this time, we have a proclamation for Juneteenth submitted by the Human Rights, and it reads, whereas our country is made up of people from every nation on earth who are declared equal not only in freedom, but also in justice, both of which are essential for a healthy human civilization. And whereas our nation was conceived on July 4th, 1776, with the Declaration of Independence, the classic statement being, we hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created equal, that they are endowed with their creator and certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And whereas at 2:00 p.m. on New York's Day, January 1st, 1863, using his war powers as president, Abraham Lincoln signed the Emancipation Proclamation, providing that all persons held as slaves within any state or designated part of a state shall be then, thereforward, and forever free. And whereas the Emancipation Proclamation made the permanent abolition of slavery a Union war amid, and provided the legal framework for emancipation of nearly all 4 million slaves of the Union Army's advance. And whereas, hearing of the proclamation, many slaves escaped to Union lines as the Army units moved south. And whereas on June 19, 1865, almost 2.5 years later, Major General Gordon Granger arrived in Galveston, Texas, and announced the end of both Civil War and slavery. With this announcement, the people of Texas are informed that, in accordance with a proclamation from the Executive of the United States, all slaves are free. This involves any absolute equality of personal rights and rights of property between former slave masters and the connection hereinto exiting between them becomes that between employer and hired labor. The freedom men are advised to remain at their present homes and work for wages. They are informed that they will not be allowed to collect at military posts, and they will not be supported in idleness either there or elsewhere. And whereas Texians began the celebration of Juneteenth in 1866 with community events such as parades, cookouts, prayer gathering, musical performance, and historical culture readings. Some community purchased land for Juneteenth celebration, such as Emancipation Park in Houston, Texas, and a freed family immigrated from Texas to other parts of the United States. They carried the Juneteenth celebration with them. And whereas Al Edwards, a freshman state representative, put forth the bill HB 1016 in 1979, making Texas the first state to grant this emancipation celebration. And whereas on January the 1st, 1980, Juneteenth became an official Texas state holiday. And whereas since there, 45 other states of the District of Columbia have also declared it an official holiday. And now, therefore, I, Ella Jones, Mayor of the City of Ferguson, Missouri, on behalf of the Ferguson City Council, do hereby proclaim June 19th, 2021 as Juneteenth, to be celebrated throughout the community if practical. That deserve a hand.
Yes, it does.
That deserve a hand.
That's why I wanted to create a celebration back in January.
Thank you. Thank you. We move to our resolutions. Resolution number 2021-12. Without objections, we are introduced by council members present. Hear none. Attorney Carey, to please read the resolution.
Yes, ma'am. Resolution number 2021-12. A resolution selecting a contractor for the demolition of dangerous buildings, awarding the contract to said contractor, and authorizing the city manager to execute the contract on behalf of the city.
Acting City Manager John Hampton, please explain.
Yes, Mayor Council. I will have Elliot on, but what this is, I can explain as well. This is this resolution is moving 15,000 from account 28888-022300000 to 2888-021840000. And this will allow me to execute the updated contract. And Elliot, if you could go ahead and explain a little bit further for council, please.
Absolutely. So as Chief Hampton noted, this allows him to sign a contract to demolish 2 additional properties in addition to the original 7 that were approved by council. These properties were purchased separately for other projects, and they are eyesores that have been routinely requested to be taken down, and we want to take care of both of them now in response to community requests. And the properties in question are 4 Burdale and 25 Elkin. And just as a note, The utility shutoffs and the asbestos abatement are complete for both of those properties, and they are scheduled to be taken down this Friday. So that's the long and the short of it.
So Elliot, is this just altering the number of houses? Because I know we originally had 10, then we had some that became attractive to some people. So then they came off the list. So then that brought us down to 7. And then these 2 were just kind of hanging out there for a little while. So that's going to make the list now back to 9, so to speak?
Yes, but let me speak to that in a little detail. Burdale was budgeted for demolition through EDST separately from these properties.
Gotcha.
We had not intended to take down Elkin this year, but we were able to do so because EDST funds budgeted for another project became available. And so the Elkin project became a higher priority because, as you know, people have been go by and say, this is a problem. Can we please get rid of it? And with the availability of funds, we were able to do that. But we had to bring it to your review.
Thank you, Elliot. Yeah, on the Elkin, that is a dangerous house, and that's one of the why we are really wanting to get that one down.
I'm sorry, Chief. I didn't mean to interrupt you. I'm sorry, Elliot. Can you say the addresses again? I didn't hear them clearly.
Absolutely. 4 Burdale and 25 Elkin.
Okay, thank you.
And I will also say that there's been a ton of positive reaction for the houses that have been coming down.
True.
Thank you. And that's all to Don as well, making sure that those are being taken down.
Thank you, Don. Okay. At this time, I request a motion and a second for approval.
So moved, Linda Lipka.
Okay, Councilwoman Linda Lipka approve and Councilwoman Burrows second. Deputy Clerk Crable, could you please call the roll?
Councilman Noah,
Aye.
Councilman Griffin,
Aye.
Councilman Burrow,
Aye.
Councilman Robinette,
Aye.
Mayor Jones,
Aye.
Councilman Lipka,
Aye.
Councilman Nelson.
Aye.
Resolution number 2021-12 passes. The next resolution number is 2021-13. Without objections, we're introduced by council members present. I hear none. Attorney Carey, could you please read the resolution?
Yes, ma'am. Resolution number 2021-13. A resolution of the City of Ferguson, Missouri, authorizing the city manager to sign and execute a contract with a lawn care service company for grass cutting services for the City of Ferguson.
Acting City Manager John Hampton, you have the floor.
Yes, ma'am, Mayor and Council. Last council meeting, we addressed this, and all this is bringing it back to council, asking for your permission for our authorization so I can sign the contract that has already been awarded.
So I've got a question because it's been brought to me quite a few times from a variety of citizens. How many people did we have that submitted bids for this?
Hold on one second. Looks like 4.
Okay. Can you go into some synopsis of the criteria that created your choice?
Yeah, so here's what kind of happened. At the last council meeting, we went into all this on how it came about and why the resolution wasn't done. And it was just an oversight with being new, having new people in the position, and that's why we're having a resolution today. but really this is, what happened was when they opened the bids, it was awarded in February, back in February. So this is kind of before my time as acting city manager. And like I said, last city council meeting, I do not believe we should go back. And since I've talked to Apollo Carey and retract the contract that was already given, that I think that would put the city in a worse spot than it could be in. And so that's why we would like to stick.
Yes, sir.
Hello?
Councilwoman Borough, could you allow city manager to finish? Go ahead, John.
And so at this time, all I'm looking for is, permission to, or authorization to go ahead and sign. This did go to Don Boyce from Jeff Bloom, came back from Jeff Bloom, and it was agreed upon, and it was awarded through an email. And so right now, I'm trying to make sure that this is done right, and that's why we have the resolution.
Councilwoman Borough, you had a question?
I did, but I think that question, the answer he just gave is good enough for me.
Okay, thank you. Councilwoman Robinette?
Yeah, I would just like to point out that one of the things that was brought up when Chief Hampton first brought this to our attention at the last council meeting, it was stated that they are looking into making sure that the process going forward when the RFP goes out each year is consistent, and how they're measuring and comparing is in a consistent format. So going back to Tony's SOPs on how things should be done, going forward, we'll have a more tied down process to be followed. So to make it more fair and equitable.
Thank you, Councilwoman Robinette. And that is something that I missed. Looking at what we put out and how we bid, put the RFP out. I talked to the Public Works Director, and we both agreed that when you compare these things, there's so many different variables. And so next year we're going to make sure that everything is, is by the way we want it worded. And so then the wordage and everything on the RFP will be definitely cleaned up. And there won't be any more confusion of who's cheaper, who's what, and this and that. And so it'll be more comparing apples to apples.
Thank you. Thank you.
I do want to thank you for having the conversation with me to get this straightened. I really do appreciate all of that.
Thank you, Councilman.
Okay. At this time, I request a motion and a second for approval.
Tony Burrows, so moved.
It has been, the motion been said by Councilwoman Tony Burrows, second by Councilwoman Noor. Deputy Clerk Crable, could you please call the roll?
Councilman Griffin?
Aye.
Councilman Burrow?
Aye.
Councilman Robinette?
Aye.
Councilman Jones, or Mayor Jones?
Aye.
Councilman Lipka?
Aye.
Councilman Nelson?
Aye.
Councilman Noah?
Aye.
Resolution number 2021-13 passes. At this time, we have bills requiring first reading. Bill number 7207. Without objection, will introduced by council members present. Hear none. Attorney Carey, please read the bill by title only.
Yes, ma'am. Bill number 7207, an ordinance repealing ordinance number 2019-3662 and adopting an ordinance fixing the salaries and other compensation of all officers and employees of the city as provided in section 2-47, compensation of chapter 2, administration of the city, of the code of the city of Ferguson for the fiscal year 2021-2022.
Acting City Manager John Hampton, please explain. You're muted.
Sorry, Mayor. Mayor and Council, at this time, I'd like to bring Alexis Miller, our Finance Director, in.
Thank you, Chief Hampton. This ordinance is just for setting the pay rates for all full-time employees for fiscal year 2021, 2022. It's something we do every year when we set our pay rates. So it's just for putting in whatever percentage of our raise we do, we always have to add on to the end of the pay range. So that is where we're at.
Thank you. At this time, no action is necessary for the first reading. Our second bill for the first reading is Bill number 7208. Without objections, we're introduced by council members. Hear none. Attorney Carey to read the bill by title only.
Yes, ma'am. Bill number 7208, an ordinance repealing ordinance number 2019-3663 and adopting an ordinance fixing the salaries of part-time employees of the Parks and Recreation Department of the City of Ferguson for the fiscal year 2021-2022.
At this time, Acting City Manager John Hampton, could you please explain?
Yes, ma'am, Mayor, Council. Once again, I'll bring Alexis Miller, our Finance Director, in. Lexi.
Thanks again, Chief Hampton. This is an ordinance just setting the salaries for the part-time employees. So the Parks Department has some very specialized part-time employees like lifeguards, concession aid workers, things like that aren't covered in our full-time salary schedule. So this is just a separate ordinance for those salaries.
Thank you. At this time, no action is necessary for the first reading. At this time, we will move to our miscellaneous. Councilwoman Noah.
Yes, first, I just want to say happy birthday, Mayor Jones.
Thank you.
And next, I just want to let everyone know I had a really good weekend. Saturday, I was able to walk with the Ferguson Walk Group and visit the farmers market. And it was nice to see Tony Dupree. She's down there every first and third Saturday. Again, with the HRC. And I'm very excited about the 2 Juneteenth celebrations coming up on June 19th. I do plan on experiencing both events. Outside of that, another event on Saturday that occurred, BKM Fitness Boot Camp. They were out. I don't know if anyone had an opportunity to drive down Florissant Road, but they were out. It was like an extravaganza of people working out, and it was just so inspirational. So outside of that, again, that's pretty much it. Just looking forward to the 2 Juneteenth events. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman Noah. Councilwoman Griffin. Councilwoman Griffin. We'll move on. Councilwoman Barrow.
Thank you, Mayor. I would just like to give a shout out to the chiefs, both Chief Armstrong and Chief Hampton, as I've had conversations with them in regard to standard operating procedures, and it is coming along fabulously. That everybody is starting to understand we cannot move forward if we don't know where we are. And so we got some things in the works that when we do set up for these work sessions, we will come out of them better than we ever have been in many years. So I'm grateful to them for looking in on that. I've had several conversations also with citizens who are very pleased at how Don Boyce is doing his job. And I just want to tip my hat to him for how he is answering the call. And we get plenty of calls. All the councilwomen know that we're getting plenty of calls, and he's answering them and to the satisfaction of the citizens. I appreciate that. The other thing is I want to bring up that with us having a vacancy on the CRB, in order for us to stay intact where we should be with the consent decree, we need to have, excuse me, we need to have some assistance from the city. And I'm asking if we can go back to having the city do some of the legwork, some of the things that we need happening administratively. That has been called out in the consent decree. So I need for that to go back so that we don't fall behind. We've made too much of a stride to fall backwards. So I need for that to be looked into. And I think that that would probably fall up under Chief Hampton. So Chief Hampton, this just took place on Friday. So if we could get together and make that happen as quickly as possible, because we are in the position where we have to give citizens a review that's called out in the consent decree. So we don't want to fall behind. So if we can make an appointment to talk about that, I'd appreciate that. Other than that, I'm just having a wonderful time talking. I've started my Listen to Learn tour, and I've been stopping by homes in the second ward and finding out what is it that we can do for you, rather than us taking on, oh, this is what we're going to do for the city. Some of the things that I campaigned was in my first election are getting done, completed, and folks are recognizing that we are working. We're on a good start for the second campaign for what I have said, this is what we're going to do. So again, getting a lot of comments as I knock on doors and say, what is it that we can do for you? I don't want to assume what we should be doing for our citizens. So that is working out well. So look out for me to be knocking on your door in Ward 2. And I'm bringing gifts to some of these folks, so they really liking that. So thank you so very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Councilwoman Burrow. We're going back to Councilwoman Griffin.
Thank you, Mayor Jones. In regards to the forest, well, I just wanted to comment on some of the public comments for Miss Moore. I'm hoping that Don will be able to connect with her and find out, you know, what exactly specifically she's speaking about. I know that we have had that conversation, but, you know, like Ms. Moore said, you know, this was prior to Don being here. And so I think maybe we just need to touch bases and just find out what we can do to address those concerns. I know everybody is definitely appreciative that we've got new staff here working with the city to get some of these issues of concern taken care of. I just definitely ask everybody to be patient because we have so much. And I know that they are currently looking for people to fill those positions as well so that we can continue to be able to service the community. So if the community has anybody who is in need or is interested in some positions, I would strongly encourage them to check out the website, look at some of the job openings and see, you know, what positions are available that you could fill, so that we can continue to work towards creating a cleaner, nicer environment for our city. In regards to, congratulations, Chris, on the deputy clerk. Congratulations for that. Let me see, I'm trying to think. I did have a question in regards to our final vote for the budget. Lexi had mentioned that some of the numbers needed to be updated. And so I was just wondering before our final vote, if those were going to reflect in our actual budget so that we can vote on those. And then lastly, I definitely wanted to, at our last meeting, we were given a consent decree status update. And during that, there was mention that the use of force policy was in the process of being revised. And that was a quite a bit of a shock to us, because as far as I knew, let me speak for myself, as far as I knew, and then I also referred back to the NPSC, whose subcommittee and general committee were able to take a look at those policies and provide recommendations, I had to double check myself to see if those had actually been finalized, which they had. I remember going through the website when we first, updated the Ferguson Police Department website with Ms. Barton, and she was showing me specifically the areas where we had policies that were in the process of being revised and where we had policies that had been finalized. And if we look on those, you can clearly see when those had been finalized. It's got the dates on them and everything. And so I understand the process that needed to take place in order for us to be able to even revise policies like the use of force, and for those policies to be worked on with the community, finalized, and then brought in. Actually, I recall one of our federal status hearings where Ms. Tidwell announced those use of force policies had been completed. I think, to me, as well as the community who had provided recommendations for those policies, that came as a very large surprise to learn that those policies that had been finalized were in the process of being redrafted and refinalized. I'm a big advocate in terms of making sure, especially when we have public processes, especially when we reach out to community for specific policy feedback, input, whatever the case may be. Um, I'm a big advocate on following back up in that same manner because the community is aware. We have asked people to stay connected, to stay informed, to understand what's going on. We've asked people to participate in public processes, especially when it comes to stuff like this. So I will say that is a very big concern for me. I definitely want to understand how we even got to that position. If the federal judge is aware that we are revising policy after we have notified them that they have been completed, because that would bring me a little concern. It definitely brings me a little concern. And I know the stance is, policies are subject to be revised, but I just want, my main point is that when we have policies that are revised in a very public manner, when we're asking people to provide feedback and input, that when those policies are changed, that we follow that same protocol and figure out how we keep our community updated and aware, and how do we continue to keep them engaged, and what is the situation with the use of force, whose recommendations, whose best practices are being submitted, who is in charge of actually putting them into policy, and then ultimately who is going to how are we going to create a public space, just like when we would have other policies that would be worked on. The DOJ would actually send out, we'd send out notices to the community and tell people about the events, and anticipate for them to come and provide feedback. We did that in a very real way. And so for the consent decree coordinator and the police department to be aware of it and then let us know about it after the fact, it's just really concerning for me. And I want to keep a special attention on that, because again, I think that's a very, very, very important policy that the community had to push to even have a voice in that. And it also speaks to the reason of why we're under this consent decree in the first place. And so I just want us to be aware of what everything has an impact. And I just want us to be inclusional. I want us to continue to be transparent, and let's always figure out how we can work together to create what we need for this city. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor,
Councilwoman.
Mayor Jones, I'd like to say something, Tony Burrow here. I'd like to talk to clarify something in a short sentence. But I'll wait till everybody do their miscellaneous because there's a misconception about what happened. It is not the use of force that's being revised. They forgot to revise, or they never did revise the policy and the board that handles the use of force policy. So that's what's being revised, and it's not being revised. It never was revised. So that's where the confusion is. But there's a bigger problem than that. And I don't want to take everybody else miscellaneous, but there's a bigger problem. And when the question comes up, does the judge even know? How do we know? The judge won't bring us in. I keep saying and keep writing letters that there's no inclusivity when it comes to the council and the judge and the DOJ. But I'll speak to that later. I don't want to put this right here. So at the end of this, I think that I could clear this up for you. Thank you, Mayor.
Councilwoman Robinette.
Mayor Jones, I'm so sorry because I
Maybe
just,
you all need to take this offline.
yeah, I
with-
just want to just
That's what I
clarify
was.
one specific thing because I was actually in the room during the federal status hearing when Ms. Tidwell announced it. So just to answer that question, that's how I know. Also, because we worked on these policies prior to me even being in the seat, and also because we were made aware when that policy was finalized, and it was noted, Ms. Tony, when you look on the website, on the Ferguson Police Department website, it will give you the date that it was finalized. And it was like 2018. So I understand about the forms. We actually worked on, the community actually worked on those forms that you're speaking about within the.
I'm not speaking about a form. I am not.
Can I get
I
a
think we're
point
gonna take
of
this
order
offline.
between
I
you
don't think
two?
this is a place.
A point of order. I'm gonna
Thank you.
ask that you take this offline and get with the consent decree coordinator, Nicole, and our attorney to clear this up, because truly, we're not gonna clear it up tonight, going back and forth.
Right, you're so right. That's why I said we should.
I appreciate it.
Clear it up.
Okay,
I know what
thank
I'm
you.
talking about. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilwoman Robinette.
Thank you, Mayor Jones. I just have a couple things. Congratulations to Chris Crable, Deputy Clerk. I'm sure you will serve us well and learn a lot along the way. Happy birthday, Mayor Jones.
Thank you.
Yes. The next, I applaud the proclamation for Juneteenth. I'm glad that was on the agenda this evening. And finally, a week and a half ago, several of us council members and the mayor attended the Municipal League of Metro St. Louis awards dinner. And I just want to give a shout out and congratulations to the Buzz Westfall Award for Excellence in Local Government, which was awarded to our former Ferguson Mayor, James Knowles III. So congratulations to him. That's a huge honor and well-deserved. And that's all I have this evening. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councilwoman Lipka.
Hi there, thank you. I just wanted to, take a moment to thank Alan Mueller for his public comments. I really appreciate how he found the central part where both sides are overlapping, which is compromise. And I appreciate the words that he said. So, and I hope Alan realizes too that was one of the things I was trying to reach out to, is how do we get this, because it's important, but how do we do it within our budget? So those things are very important to me as well, sir. I also wanted to remind everyone, we have a second round of city manager interviews that are this week. And I wanted to thank our community members who have graciously accepted the invitation to be on the community panel. That will be on Thursday, June 10th from 5 to 7 p.m. And they will be asking the questions, but everyone is welcome to tune in and pay attention. And you are welcome to fill out the survey after the town hall. And, if you tune in on Thursday and you tune in on Friday, then we really are looking, as council members, we are looking very looking forward very much to your comments in collaboration of those two viewing opportunities. The town hall is going to be on Friday, June 11th from 7 to 8 p.m. It will be emceed and conducted and ran by our human resource director, and she will be using questions that were submitted from city members, and going forward, being able to get those answers. Also to clear up anything, I know there was some commentary out there about how did people know who these candidates were and da 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 da. It's actually on the Survey Monkey. So if you click on the Survey Monkey, which is in the link for the Zoom calls, it does have the candidates' names out there. So we're just thrilled that we have 3 good people to work with and listen to, and hopefully we will be able to choose from one of them. But we will only choose what is best for our community, because that's what we are tasked to do. If you need the Zoom call information, please, my best solution to you is to go on Facebook and go on the City of Ferguson's page, and the information is out there. Also wanted to let people know, just once again, please apply for the 4th of July parade. It is not fun to go and watch a parade that has 5 cars in it. That's not a parade. So we want to get everybody out there. If you've got a group, if you've got, neighborhood associations, you can put something in there. That would be so awesome. You can dead end streets. If all the neighbors want to get together and they're the proud street of La Maison, we can go do that. I mean, anybody can be in this parade. You're in this community, you love this community, you can be in this parade. Just put an application in. The other thing I would also like to remind everybody, the concert series is back. Can I hear whoop whoop? Concert series is back. So we will have June 11th is Retro Boogie, and June 11th is Friday. That's the first one, 501 Plaza. Retro Boogie. July 9th is McLovin. By the way, guys, gotta love the name of a band called McLovin. August 13th is going to be the 80s band, and September 10th is a band called the Bitter Pill. And then September 12th is the Bitter Pill, and September 10th is the Bitter Pill, and September 12th is the Taste in Ferguson, just saying. And it's going to come back full force. I also want to take a minute to really thank all the department heads. We can't leave anybody out because everybody's really been stepping up. Every time you turn around, Chris Crable, congratulations to you. You're stepping up. John Hampton, you're an amazing man. The fact that you are doing this job, the fact that you have gone through your medical procedures and you're sitting in your home at this meeting right now, just thank you so much for that sheer physical, emotional, and spiritual dedication that you have to this community. It is really impressive. Thank you very much. And I also want to wish a happy birthday to Mayor Jones. You're looking better every year. And you've just doing great. And one thing I want to say is, I personally, I'm going to be very honest, I didn't know much about Juneteenth, and I wanted to learn about it. And I felt like I was definitely not the only one that didn't know enough about it. And so in January, Stephen Garrett and I both wanted to create something, and we tried to make it a holiday, and we got some pushback on that from the interim city manager at the time. We wanted to create some stuff. Then we had a lot of things happen in our city hall and our town and so forth. So it just fell through the cracks, and I hate that. I would like to really see, I want to work with Alan Mueller. I want to work with Proud. I want to create a Juneteenth celebration next year that is educational and it's community driven, and it's all about all of us having a conversation and learning what this is, listening to each other and really creating a community celebration, because we have a lot to celebrate, and thank God for the state of Texas. So yay, Juneteenth. And I also want to take a minute, the public comment that we weren't able to hear, to me, is very important, and I'm going to share it with you real quickly. It's from a resident, Alice Lohr. She lives on 3 Elizabeth Court. She's a lifelong resident of Ferguson and the proud daughter of the late Mayor Brian Fletcher. She expresses her concern, saying that my father taught me to take pride in my community. He also taught me to address concerns and take initiative. Tonight, I bring to you a concern that is not foreign to the council's ears. My concern involves the reckless driving and speeding that occurs daily on our streets. Elizabeth Avenue has become a dangerous speedway. I want to share a personal story in hopes that it will bring about change in some way. My family takes frequent walks throughout our community. Tonight, we visited my mother who lives on Robert Avenue. When returning to our house, we were walking northbound on the west side of Elizabeth Avenue. A vehicle traveling no slower than 60 miles per hour was traveling southbound. Another vehicle was making a right-hand turn onto Elizabeth from Larkin. The speeding vehicle swerved into the opposite lane and almost collided with the vehicle making the turn. When I say almost, I mean the cars were inches from impact. If a collision would have occurred, a 3-year-old little girl, a 7-week-old newborn, and myself would have been directly hit by the wreck. I have never been so scared or helpless in my life. By the grace of God, my family was spared. Many residents have asked the council what will it take for action to occur in curbing the reckless driving in our streets. Tonight, my innocent daughters and myself could have been fatally hit by a reckless driver. Something must be done. As a mother, your primary role is to protect your children. I will do anything to ensure the safety of my children. I need your help in making sure the probability of these kinds of incidents dramatically decrease. This is not okay. Countless residents have brought the same concern to our to our council's attention. We need a response now and we need action now. And so I read that because we as council members hear you. We unfortunately don't have the immediate tools to go stand on the streets ourselves and throw at stop signs. Believe me, I have thought about doing that. I have no problem standing in the middle of the street. I have no problem yelling at a car to slow down. I have no problem using the meanest freaking mother voice I can come up with to get people to slow down. The problem is when they do slow down, they back up and they point a gun in your face. So you can't take it on yourself to do that. I'm going to ask though that I appreciate what Chief Hampton said tonight. He is working with Chief Armstrong. He is working on this task. He is working with Don Boyce. The mayor has sat down with them. They're looking at speed tables. I personally have spoke with Don Boyce. I spoke with many of them on my own accord. I know Tony Burrow has as well. I know all of us, we are looking at all different ways of traffic calming and things that don't cost money, even 3D stop signals at the stop signs, crosswalks. This is not okay. And I would ask that our citizens truly take into consideration this action. And that is, please start petitions, especially on the roads that do not belong to Ferguson. Yes, we can give tickets, but as far as traffic calming measures go, we have to get noisy. We have to get annoying, like I'm probably being to all of you right now. We have to be the squeaky wheel that gets the oil. We have to be up in their face. We have to be up in the face of our county council reps. And we need petitions signed by everyone up and down Elizabeth, up and down Chambers, up and down Hereford, up and down Suburban, and in any other street that we don't have direct access to as a city. We have got to get something done. And all of us hear you and I hear you. And I just wanted to leave it at that. Please enjoy your weekend. My nephew's getting married this weekend, so it's a great family event for us. Thanks.
Thank you, Councilwoman Lipka. Councilwoman Nelson.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to remind everybody to please partake in I know there are a lot of Juneteenth celebrations going on all across the city as well as the county, but to make sure that folks are totally engaged and learning and getting the experience of what Juneteenth is really about and what it is and what it means. I know that we have a celebration in the city of Ferguson at 501 Plaza on the 19th from 1 to 5. There's also one at the Emerson Family YMCA from 11 to 2 with entrepreneurs and food trucks throughout the Emerson Y. So just reminding folks to really everyone to take part in the Juneteenth celebration that's going on all over the city. Linda did a good job reminding everybody about the city manager recruitment events that's going on. So please, as the community, please be a part of that on the 10th, as well as the town hall on the 11th. Also wanted to remind folks about the Ferguson Parks Master Plan group focus group that's going on June 16th. And I believe there's still spots available for folks to be a part of those focus groups about our parks here in Ferguson. And happy birthday, Mayor.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Deputy Clerk Chris Crable, would you like to share?
I just thank everybody for saying congratulations. I don't have anything else to share right now, but thank you.
Okay, Attorney Carey?
Yeah, actually, I do have a couple things. And Chris, I didn't get in my congratulations, my friend, but congratulations, of course, well deserved. I wanted to, I heard during our public comment portion, some comments that I wanted to, that I'm feeling compelled to address. Initially, like I say, obviously, I certainly respect all members of the public who take the time to come to our meetings, participate in our government, and voice their opinions, about various different things. But I do want to, sometimes comments are made, and there's sometimes a legal slant to why things are done the way they're done. And in particular, this particular comment was about our bidding process and selection, contractors, and that kind of thing. And I think one of the comments made, I think this was by Mr. Mueller, who always makes really, really good, thoughtful comments, was about, transparency and sort of making sure things are open, as much as they can be to the public. And certainly transparency has been a rallying cry in Ferguson for as long as I've been your city attorney and, in government in general. But, just to sort of understand how that bidding process works, there are some, you have to sort of balance the concept of transparency with what the law requires. And in our, our sunshine law, there are certain documents, certain information that the sunshine law, authorizes to be closed to the public for certain reasons. And in particular, reading to you guys from 610-021, specifications for competitive bidding, until either the specifications are officially approved by the public governmental body or the specifications are published for bid, right? So essentially how the city formulates what its specifications are going to be, that is closed until the actual RFP is published, right? And then the specifications are then released to the public through the RFP. There are also, if you read subsection 12 of that same statute, sealed bids and related documents until the bids are open, and sealed proposals and related documents or any documents related to a negotiated contract until a contract is executed or all proposals are rejected, right? So those types of documents are also closed to the public, or authorized to be closed to the public. And one of the reasons, I think, sort of the why behind that, this is, just through years of sort of working with the government and understanding the dynamics between elected officials and, administrators. Our government is a manager, is a council manager form of government, and our elected officials don't have administrative duties. As a matter of fact, our charter prohibits them from having regular administrative duties. And so one of the things we try to stay away from is to, not put the council in peril or the city in peril by having the council do things that the council probably shouldn't be doing. And I heard one of the comments saying, well, I heard that the council didn't participate in the selection process. Well, our charter would probably prohibit the council from participating in competitive bidding selection processes. And one of the reasons why you'd want to do that, we need to look no further than our, former city, our former county executive, Steve Stenger, right? Or if you go over in Illinois, like a Rob Blagojevich, right? Sometimes you have, elected officials who, get into that pay to play situation, right? Where you have folks who, are elected, and then, pressure is put on people for folks to be selected and this kind of thing. And that's just one of the things that we obviously with council, we would recommend that this council stays away from, just because of the way our government is set up and some of the examples that we have of others doing that, and it just not ending so well for them. So my overall point is, certainly while transparency is a goal, we have to balance that with, what the law requires and also what our charter requires. So, there are some times when it's just certain things just won't be able to be made public until a certain time. And so those are just things that I wanted to bring up, just so that folks sort of understood why some of this stuff may not be out in the public from a timing perspective when, some folks might want it to be. So that's it. That's all I had.
Thank you, Attorney Apollo. Acting Interim City Manager John Hampton, you have anything to share?
Mayor, happy birthday.
Thank you.
And then just, we should have everything fixed before next council meeting. Hoping so. The air conditioner the park should be in, hopefully, and we should be in quarters or chambers if you wish.
Okay, thank you. I just would like to share, thank you for the birthday wishes, well wishes. I am excited to be here one more year. Ooh, getting younger and younger every day. Thank you, Linda. Appreciate that. In addition to that, I just want to remind the council that I emailed out on last Friday for recognition for our residents who did outstanding community service during COVID-19. We want to recognize our citizens for that during the 4th of July. Please get that brief statement about the citizen you would like to recommend to Deputy Clerk Chris Crable. Also, a lot of people have been asking about the nursing home. And this morning, to my surprise, one of the owners of the nursing home called, and Mr. Ali said that they are awaiting the inspection from the city and the state. Hopefully they'll be open in late July, and they will send a notice to the city to have the council a part of the grand opening. That's all I have. Everyone have a great weekend. Yes, ma'am. Councilwoman Linda Lipka.
Mayor, I just wanted to let you know, in regards to trying to find our citizens that were standing above and tall during COVID and when it went beyond the need to help others. I did put something out on Facebook, on my personal page, on the Ferguson page, on my council page and so forth. And I encourage, all of us to do that, but I also encourage you, if you've got somebody, I've only had one response so far, and I'm like, what? So please respond to your council members, like Mayor Jones said, and let us know.
Thank you. I am requesting a motion and a second to adjourn.
Tony Barrow, so moved.
Heather Robinette, second.
Are you ready to vote? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. We are adjourned. Have a good night, and I'm going to finish my birthday.